Welcome to the news. Let's settle for our first story. And government says it will ensure due diligence in its negotiations with various companies and its goal for oil barter deal. The move is aimed at getting cheaper options for fuel and also reduce the stress on the Ghana cedi. Since the social media announcement of the deal by Vice President Bawumia, there have been concerns about the practicality of the policy. We'll hear from government shortly, but first, listen to the CEO of the Chamber of Mines, Dr. Suleimana Kone.
Well, it's in the details. We don't have the details, and that's the difficulty. Yes, we know about the domestic gold purchase program, but then you are talking about the counterparties who are interested in taking gold for oil, which they would sell to the state. We need some more details, and this is where government needs to take its time and go through due diligence. Yes, we know that we are in a difficult situation, but we need to hasten slowly and make sure that we really understand and appreciate what we want to do before we actually sign off. On paper, it looks novel. It is quite innovative. This is something we've never done before. I think that this is something we should be able to do, but let's hasten slowly so that we really understand the various risks involved.
Now, former Power Minister and a member of the Energy and Mines Committee of Parliament, Dr. Kwabena Donkor, says the introduction of the policy is exposing government's desperation.
The PMMC is going to buy from small-scale miners who in 2020 accounted for about 40% of our total gold export. If we're going to buy in cedis, again, what we're going to experience is that there will be greater leakage of gold from our system. And when the Minerals Commission briefed Parliament at a closed-door meeting in Takoradi, even the income tax on small-scale mining, when it increased from 3 to about 4%, we experience a reduction in the quantum of gold sold on the Ghanaian market. Gold then leaves the shores of Ghana. And therefore, if you say you're going to pay the small-scale miners who account for 40% of our total gold export in cedis, you can bet that at least half of their products will leave the Ghanaian system through our porous borders.
But speaking on the probe, Deputy Minister in charge of Petroleum, Dr. Amin Adam, insists proper due diligence is currently underway and adds that the policy will take off in March 2023.
As I'm speaking to you, the Bank of Ghana is undertaking due diligence on some of the gold brokers. Okay, so due diligence is a major part of the work we do as a government because we don't want to exercise indiscretion. We want the discretion we exercise to serve the interests of the Ghanaian people who put us in government. And so we have to make sure that proper due diligence is done before we take off so that we don't stop along the way.
Is government desperate?
Government is desperate every day. Government is desperate every day because we are not happy about the economic circumstances of our country. And we know that some of these are beyond our control. What is happening in Russia is beyond our control. The logistical challenges in the oil and gas industry globally is beyond our control. Petroleum products are priced globally. It's beyond our control. And so to get desperate ideas to address desperate problems, I think should be part of the overall work of government.
Meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana has been commenting on this initiative. Here's the governor, Dr. Ernest Addison.
Coming to the gold for crude oil swap program, this is still being discussed for implementation in 2023. We have 20% of the large-scale producers already planned to be bought by the central bank. But more importantly, I think the agreement is that the PMMC will be buying a lot of the gold, which is exported by the licensed gold exporters. They are exporting quite a bit of gold, as much as $3 billion in 2018 and 2019. So the data that I have seen shows that the licensed gold exporters have significant amounts of gold, which PMMC will be asking them to make available to support this program. So they will be providing most of the gold that will be used for the crude oil swap. I think that the oil will be refined, not crude. Sometimes that gets a bit confusing, but the discussion so far has focused on refined oil. So we are going to use gold, not refined gold. This is Dory gold. From the last discussions that we had, these licensed gold exporters, they don't refine their gold, so many of them. And that's what is going to be exported for the refined gold.
Now, Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia has said a recent surging violence by armed insurgent groups and criminal gangs in some countries in the Sahel have resulted in the displacement of about 2.5 million people this year. Speaking at the launch of the Gulf of Guinea Northern Region's Social Cohesion Project at Bolgatanga in the Upper East region, the Vice President said the last 5 years had been the most violent on record, and countries needed to take measures to stop the activities of extremist groups from spreading to other parts of the African continent. Correspondent Albert Sori reports.
The Gulf of Guinea Northern Region's Social Cohesion, or SOCO project, aims to improve regional collaboration and the socio-economic and climate resilience of border zone communities in the target northern regions of the Gulf of Guinea countries exposed to conflict and climate risks. The northern regions of the Gulf of Guinea countries include Benin, La Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana, and Togo. The SOCO project also aims to proactively prevent the spread of conflict from the Sahel and strengthen local institutions, economic opportunities, and public trust. The project is financed from the World Bank International Development Association to the tune of $450 million. Of this amount, Ghana has been allocated $150 million. At the launch of the SOCO project at Bolgatanga here in the Upper East region, Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia gave some details about the project.
The project has been conceived and designed to address the effects of the spillover of conflicts and extremism from the Sahel region, reduce vulnerability because of exposure to the impacts of climate change, the $450 million multi-country credit facility. It focuses mostly on border communities in these regions where the citizenry, especially women and youth, are exposed and are susceptible to the threats of terrorism from the Sahel region. Thus, the project focuses on dealing with issues relating to fragility, conflicts, and violence.
He said recent surging violence by armed insurgent groups and criminal gangs in some countries in the Sahel have resulted in the displacement of about 2.5 million people this year.
Together, the northern parts of these Gulf of Guinea countries have become a unique converging point for multiple crises. The recent unrelenting insurgent violence by armed insurgent groups and criminal gangs in some countries in the Sahel have resulted in the internal displacement of about 2.5 million people. Sahel also hosts over 850,000 refugees, mainly from Mali. Indeed, the past 5 years have been the most violent on record, with over 12,000 conflict events and 50,000 fatalities since June 2019.
Country Director for World Bank, Pierre-Franck Laporte, said the multifaceted nature of the Gulf of Guinea Northern Region's social cohesion project makes it challenging, but he was confident that government and stakeholders were up to the task.
The World Bank has also other programs aimed at addressing some of the drivers of inequality and deprivation, including improving forest and landscape management, increasing connectivity through improved roads and digital access, and addressing particularly vulnerable communities through social protection programs. In our pipeline, there are also other variations, including the Youth Employment Project, the Agriculture Tree Crop Project, which are both coming in the next few months.
The SOCO project will be implemented by the Ministry of Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development. A total of 48 metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies in the 6 regions of the North will benefit from the project. Dan Botwe is Minister for Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development.
This program will be supervised by the regional coordinating boards. And for that matter, our regional House of Chiefs will have a direct role in monitoring. Each regional House of Chiefs will send 2 representatives to the regional coordinating boards.
The SOCO project will run for approximately 5 years. For Joy News, Albert Sori, reporting from Bolgatanga.
Now, in education, there is some disagreement among 2 youngsters who lost their parents under strange circumstances in the Ashanti region's Ekrima Macro on whether to enroll in school to start their formal education. Jake and Jesse Jackson were educated at home by their parents until the death of these parents, denying them the chance to socialize with other neighbors. Jake is kicking against going to school to learn, but his younger brother is eager to enroll. Ahiming Terry of our security desk, who has been on this beat, caught up with the teenagers in their new Anwomaso home and now reports.
And Ernestina Jackson were discovered in the apartment at Abuakwa Makru. The deceased and their children, who were domiciled in the Netherlands, relocated to Ghana without the knowledge of their extended families. Their surviving children, aged 11 and 13, were rescued in an unconscious state by police at their home. It followed the couple's long absence from public space. After being discharged from the Abuakwa Government Hospital, where they spent several weeks recuperating, Jake Jackson insists he wants to be taught at home. According to him, it feels good to learn at home, something he enjoyed from his deceased parents.
I don't want to go to school, I want to learn here. It feels good if I learn at home. I will teach myself.
But his brother, 11-year-old Jesse Jackson, prefers to study at school.
Yes, because the law maybe of Ghana says you have to learn at school, that's home.
He wants to make new friends, which he is questioned by his brother.
You will make friends? Yes. What will happen if the friends listen to the devil, not the good? And Jesse said, if the friends are listening to the devil, I will say to them, you're not my friend anymore. My family said, whoever listens to the devil, go to hell. Whoever listens to Jesus or God will go to heaven.
Meanwhile, the mother of the teenagers has since been buried after an autopsy. From Kumasi, for Joy News, Ohimenteria reporting.
Now, the kingmakers of the Gbi traditional area in the Hohoi municipality of the Volta region have installed Seth Kojo Agbesinyale as the Togbegan Gabusu VII. The investment officer succeeds the late Togbegan Gabusu VI, who reigned for 29 years, contributing to the development of the area and the chieftaincy institution in the region. There is more in the following report by Fred Kwame Asari.
The colorful coronation ceremony, which saw the display of indigenous African culture, took place at the municipal capital, Hohoe. Togbega Gabusu, who holds a master's in business administration from the University of Sunderland, UK, is a senior investment officer with the Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Development Corporation. In his inaugural address, Togbega Gabusu VII outlined unity, job creation, tourism, fiscal and human development, among others, as areas he would focus on during his reign as leader of the Gbi state. The Minister of Railways Development, John Peter Amewu, entreated the Gbi traditional area to rally behind Togbega Gabusu VII for the common good of the area.
As an MP, we will continue to support his kingdom. We will build his kingdom. We will make his kingdom enviable. We will make this state the state of state among states. We will make every children here to become benefit of this country. For some reason, including myself, that has felt that difficulties has emerged within these 2 years because of Nana Akufo-Addo. Novinyo, Tokyo, Menye na mile futo. Menye na mile futo. But I am telling you that His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, as the leader and the president of this country, are taking responsibility for hardship. He has acknowledged the responsibility, and he has promised, and he has asked me to tell the people of me that without him or with him and in him, Ghana will become Ghana again. This one too shall pass.
Residents are optimistic the Gbi traditional area would witness unprecedented development under the leadership of Togbega Gabusu VII. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Hohoe.
Well, adherents to the Catholic faith in the Wa municipality are in shock and are yet to come to terms with the death of Cardinal Richard Kuyabawober, who passed on in Italy. According to the staunch Catholics, the passing of Cardinal Richard is not only a loss for the Upper West region, but the country at large, as he is a champion of the poor, mentally challenged, and the girl child. Upper West regional correspondent Rafiq Salam now reports from Wa.
Unusual deafening silence at the St. Andrew's Cathedral in Wa, we are told, it's been like this all morning. Our camera spotted from afar this lonely man seated few meters away from the entrance of the cathedral, head bowed down and wiping his teary eyes with a handkerchief. At exactly midday, the cathedral bell was swung and lasted for close to 3 minutes. Close to 3 dozen believers of the Catholic faith sounded into the cathedral. The mood inside the over 60-year-old cathedral was somber, and all eyes pointing at the man behind the pulpit, Reverend Father Barnabas, waiting for the reason why the bell was rung. Many may have heard and knew the reason already, but don't want to fall victim to fake news. Reverend Brother Barnabas gave a chronology of the event leading to the death of Cardinal Kunye Bawop. The announcement is akin to a dagger that went through the heart of the flock. The chief shepherd for the Ward Diocese was no more.
Richard Cardinal elected left with a group of delegation from our diocese here for Rome for the consistory which was to take place on 27th August. Unfortunately, we were greeted with the sad news that our bishop was not so well and he was taken ill and was put in a hospital. Of course, that gave a call to all of us to pray for him, and of course we intensified our prayer for him. On the 18th of November, we had some glimpse of hope when we heard that he was discharged from the hospital in which he was receiving treatment, and then he was at the general death of the Five Fathers. And with this news, we were very hopeful that he was going to join us very soon to celebrate this hallmark in his life. And on a few days ago, we celebrated our common jubilees on the 26th. And of course, our Vicar General told us that he was doing so well. And we are so very hopeful that very soon he will be joining us. Unfortunately for us yesterday, we are now all greeted with the sad news that at 6:25 p.m., our dear Cardinal passed on to eternity. Sad news for all of us, heartbreaking for all of us, but of course, we commend his soul unto the Lord, whom he saved so faithfully that God in his own mercy will raise him up, and one day all of us will continue to join him in the heavenly kingdom.
Beards of tears started rolling from their eyes upon hearing the announcement. Some even got confused and did not know where the exit doors of the cathedral were. For Rita Olina, the death of Cardinal Richard Kunye Bawop is a big blow, not only to the Ward Diocese, but the country at large.
I've known Cardinal for quite a while, and he's a very good man. He's the reflection of Christ himself, and the faith he has is so deep-rooted that when you get close to him, you get settled. Last year, during the bishop's conference, he said, "Oh, Rita, I want to see you." And then I made time, I went, and we discussed a lot of things, especially concerning education and girl child education. He's somebody who has the poor and the less privileged at heart, the mentally challenged, the people that don't have families, people that are going through conditions that are not so good. Cardinal always said that he feels happy when others are happy because of him.
The mood at his official residence at St. Francis Xavier is no different. It looks like a ghost town. We bumped into this Reverend Sister who was very courteous but refused to speak to us on the person of the Cardinal. The Catholic Church, for that matter, the Ward Diocese, is still shocked and yet to come to terms over the person of the Chief Shepherd. Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam. Wah.
And it is on that sad note that we wrap the news. But there's more coming your way as we serve you the news review. Do stay.